Tonight, we get to have double the fun. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. I've got another one of those EDS-1275 double necks to share tonight, but the specs of this one are a little bit different. A viewer of the show reached out to me saying, hey, I want your Jimmy Page double neck that you just reviewed. However, my wife bought me one about 10 years ago, and I don't really need two. Could we work some sort of a trade deal? And I decided to make that happen because this era of regular production double necks is a little bit different. So inside this case sleeps another red double neck. However, this time you'll notice our tailpieces aren't all the way down here. It's the regular positioning. We also don't have things like the uncovered 6-string side. Like, this was really good for him for 10 years, but he wanted the true real deal. But have no fear, my friends, that is not the unique spec that made me want to document this. It's actually the back. This version has a maple neck. So let's do a little bit of EDS-1275 history that's different from the other reviews. So I don't think we need to talk about the original double necks and how they're actually hollow bodied, but there's two main different types of double necks. There's a 60s style and there's a 70s style. Most of the 60s ones have these really nice Gibson mother of pearl logos, but in the 70s, when they come back into production, they just have decals. The 60s ones, they're a little bit smaller. There's famous users of each version, like Don Felder's is actually one of the decaled ones. It's at this time that they also introduced the volute onto them. But one of the biggest changes is the fact that you have maple necks on most of the 70s ones. Now, we're not going to say all, because many of them were custom ordered status to begin with, but primarily that is a spec that you will find. So I might ask, well, why did they swap over into maple? Some people say it's for rigid stability. I mean, you've got 12-string necks. When you talk about 12-string Gibsons, in the modern day, when they make them, they like to do maple necks if they're not doing a reissue. So in many ways, for a gigging guitarist, if you have to take this in many different humidity areas and temperatures and stuff, you might actually enjoy that. But it was also just a sign of the times. In the mid-70s, that's just what they were doing. Maple necks on a lot of models. Except for SGs, Flying Vs, and Explorers. So mid-2000s, kind of an interesting blending of the specs. This is not like a 70s reissue. So we have the 60s style Gibson mother of pearl logo with what I would argue is the smaller headstock style. They're not giant by any means. We have the maple necks. However, there are no volutes on the back of these, so that's kind of interesting. But not only is this just a maple neck, it's actually a 3-piece laminated neck. They went for ink stamp style serial numbers with the Nashville style 70s bridges. And as far as the body, it appears to still be mahogany. That whole maple into mahogany definitely gives you a slight color difference back here between the neck and the body. But let's see if this one has any case candy. Whew, it's a miracle. So this is still within the paper certificate era, but this is like the tail end of that. Like, they had actually started to move into the regular custom shop branding at this point in time. As far as first impressions on the neck profile, it's actually quite big and chunky, which is kind of funny because most times when Gibson uses a maple neck, they're a little bit thinner. But somebody definitely gigged this guitar. I mean, this thing has definitely been on the road. It's got scratches, wear and tear. There's actually a couple of nicks and dings on the guitar itself. But what shocked me the most is look how bad the fit of this case is. You can see some of this has been like dinged up here. And if the case has been used a lot, you know, in transport and whatnot, over time, the foam will compress. But to learn more about mid-2000s double necks, let's go ahead and throw it on the workbench to take an individual look at its parts and specs. Oh boy, that was an unexpected headache. So, unfortunately, the neck pickup on the 6-string side does not work. I tried to figure out what was going on here. I traced the wires from there, and then it appears to connect over there, so I thought maybe reconnecting the solder might do the trick, but no. So I took the pickup off. I get a reading directly from it, so I'm pretty confident it works. There's just either something wrong with the wiring or the switch itself. Because strangely, the neck pickup on the 12-string side was also not working, but I found one of the wires came loose. Possible that happened when I flipped this up. So a bit of a no-go on that aspect, but these mid-2000s EDS-1275s should be cheaper than a modern-day one by quite a bit, for a few reasons. First one, you don't get like the super nice ultra custom shop pickups. It's Gibson USA branded on both the neck and bridge positions. The same is true over on the 6-string side. And common knowledge online It's parroted that it's the 490R 498T set. That is incorrect, at least based on this example. We would need a larger pool sample size. Maybe this one was custom ordered differently. Something to know about this particular one, it's actually wired differently from the 60s ones. So typically this is the one that selects what pickup you're trying to use, and then this one selects the neck. However, this one is the exact opposite. This one is your pickup selector. This one is your neck selector. So it's kind of like the slash double neck in that aspect. Bridge is a little bit more than 8K ohms. Neck is about 7.85. So to me, that means it's the 490R 490T set, which does make sense. That's what they've used in the SG standards for some time. So maybe that's what they were trying to replicate here. Because a 498T should be twice as hot, around that 14.5K ohm range, and that's certainly not right. And 57 Classics have a different decal on the back. I wanted to document this real quick. You kind of have an arrowhead design, which is different from the latest ones that we've looked at. Here's a look at that toggle switch. But then this route over here is that usual squared off one. And a look at this three-way toggle. And while we're at it, here's the neck pickup cavity and the bridge pickup cavity. And now the same for the 12-string side bridge. Now the big question is, can I get it fully screwed back into place and still functioning? All right, I think I ended up doing it. So what it ended up being, the ground wire from this bridge post was touching this pickup, which for some reason shorted out, but everything is now functioning as fully intended, which is fantastic. So for full disclosure, the solder work for the neck pickup on both sides has been touched up on that particular switch. Everything else is still stock. But here's another reason why these mid-2000s ones should be cheaper, because they're multi-pieced bodies. This one is actually 3 pieces. All the other double necks that we've looked at on the channel thus far, as I'm aware, have been one big solid piece. But you can see a very obvious seam line right here. Then this one's not as noticeable, but it is there. Completely understandable on a guitar like this. Here's a look at our Nashville style bridge, PW branded. It's the same for the 6-string side as well. And then a cool look at the clawed tailpiece. It just gets screwed to the top with 3 of them. Then the ball end of the string goes in here and it holds it tight. Now if you're interested in being the next owner of this one, please keep in mind this was gigged. Document some of the condition things. There's a ding right there. Tons of scratches in your picking area. A few down here. My intentions are just to put this at a really good price so it sells quick. It looks like I might have caught the pick guard area right there with my solder iron. Then we've got our controls right here. But moving on from our 3-piece mahogany body, we've got the 3-piece maple necks with the rosewood fretboards. I went ahead and conditioned the fretboard and did a light polishing to the frets. Here's a quick look at our 6-string side. You've got your real mother-of-pearl split parallelogram inlays. I've always loved these. They're super cool. But EDS-1275s only have 20 frets. And the body joint starts at the 15th fret, so doing super high solo work, not always the easiest on these. Some guys like to chop off this horn to make it better. But look at our 12-string nut. You can see a little bit of finish seepage. But holy cow, that was a sloppy day from Gibson on the 6-string side. But 12-string is 1.72, 6-string the same. And by the 12th, 2.06. Over here, 2.04. First fret, 0.88. Roughly the same on the 6-string. And 10th fret, almost 1. So that's interesting. The necks are just about the same. Here's a look at that 6-string neck. Nice and rounded C. And add the 12-string. They're pretty much identical. Now we can look at our headstock. We've got the more modern style Kluson tuners on here. So you got your nut and washer system on each of these. Same thing is true on our 6-string. But what is different this time is you can see the maple neck in there. Everything's good on this truss rod, and also on the 12-string side. That's nice. And now we can move on to the back side. I didn't even notice it was a multi-piece body until I got back here, because in my opinion, that's when the seam lines became a little bit more obvious. They're not too crazy though. But we do have quite a large ding right here in the middle of the body, as well as a few other light impressions. Somebody's put some Schaller strap locks on this for obvious reasons, and you've got some scratches from a strap. Similar stuff at the bottom. I also noticed this. It almost looked like a factory defect to me in there, but you do have a little bit of finish missing there. It might even be a wood sliver. Here's a look at our control cavity. Everything looks stock to me here. Got your Gibson branded pots in all locations. But I did not see this until I got it on the workbench. The middle piece of maple actually has quite considerable flame figuring. Here, I'll turn down the brightness so you can see it just a little bit better. Yeah, that's cool. Now, is it enough for me to put in the title of the listing? Flame neck, double neck, you need to get this now. No, It's just a, oh, yeah, that's cool. One piece has some flame. You'll also see some light finish sinking into the 3 pieces right here, as well as a little bit of finish delamination. It's nothing to worry about, just something to know. Same thing's true on the 12-string side. You have a little bit of that right there. Same thing is true along where your fretboard actually ends and the neck begins. You have some lacquer sink in those areas. Looks like maybe even a little bit of finish wear right there. It looks like this dinged up against something and just happened to chip the finish in a almost perfectly circular pattern. Our 6-string side does not have a serial number of any kind. That is reserved for the 12-string, making this the 189th custom shop guitar produced in the year 2006. And you can see our Clusen Gibson Deluxe tuners and our custom shop decal. For a double neck, it's not the worst weight in the world, 11 pounds, 14 ounces. Let's go ahead, plug it in, and hear how the maple neck version sounds. Neck pickup is very interesting on the 6-string side. I'm glad I took the time to make sure it worked. It has a certain chime to it, but yet it's still throaty sounding. Coming back to a Les Paul after a double neck, it's like you're playing a toy. It's great. So there we go, a mid-2000s EDS-1275. I'm glad I documented it. This thing sounds significantly different. I might have to try another one of these with a maple neck, like get a true 70s to see if they have a similar tone to them or if that's just the mid-2000s type stuff. But alright, Troglodytes, if you're interested in being the next owner of this one, I have no interest of posting this thing at a high price. It'll be very fair. Find it on my website, troglysguitarshow.com. Let's get this back into the hands of a gigging musician who can use it to its full potential. Alright, Troglodytes, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.